The sound of a racking shotgun slide is unmistakable. It is a mechanical, cold crunch that speaks a universal language. The end is here. For 3 years, I had lived in a mansion that was actually a mausoleum, polished to a shine by my own trembling hands. Silas wasn't just a husband. He was a storm wrapped in an Armani suit, charming to the world, but a hurricane inside our walls. I had tried to leave twice. The first time, he broke my ribs. The second time, he broke my spirit. But tonight was different. Tonight, he hadn't just found the hidden cache in the hollowed-out Bible on the bookshelf. He had found the letter to my sister. He knew I was leaving. And as I backed into the corner of the kitchen, watching the veins bulge in his neck, I realized I wasn't just facing punishment. I was facing execution. That was the moment I stopped praying for my marriage to be saved and started praying for my soul to be kept. People tell you that adrenaline makes you fast. That's not always true, because when true terror hits, predator-level terror, time doesn't speed up. It dissolves. Shock freezes you in your tracks. Silas lunged. There was no screaming, just the brutal impact of his weight against mine. We both hit the granite island. Pain exploded in my head, a starburst of white light, and then I was on the floor. His hands, massive and smelling of expensive scotch and gun oil, clamped around my throat. This was the first near-death experience. The kitchen faded slowly. The subtle buzz of the refrigerator stopped. The aggressive ticking of the wall clock ceased. My vision tunneled, the edges curling into black smoke. I looked into his eyes and saw nothing human, just a deep, void-like rage. I tried to gasp, but my windpipe was crushed beneath his thumbs, and my lungs burned like they were filled with acid. I felt my heartbeat flutter, a bird trapped in a cage, panicking, then slowing. Thump, thump. So this is it, I thought. I die at the hands of someone else. I stopped fighting. My hands dropped from his wrists. The darkness rushed in to claim me. I was gone. I felt the separation, the eerie lightness of my spirit detaching from the heavy, pain-filled vessel of my body. And then the voice spoke. It was a voice that didn't come from the room. It didn't come from my head. It came from the marrow of my bones, vibrating through the floorboards, louder than thunder, but as soft as a whisper. You have to get up. My eyes snapped open. Physically, it should have been impossible. I had been without oxygen for nearly 2 minutes. My body was limp. But suddenly, air rushed into my lungs. Not a gasp, but a gale-force wind, as if someone had blown the breath of life back into dust. Then, the impossible happened. Silas, a man who weighed 220 pounds of muscle, was suddenly blasted backward. I didn't touch him. A shockwave, invisible and silent, erupted from my chest. He flew across the kitchen, crashing into the heavy oak cabinets with enough force to splinter the wood. He crumpled to the floor, gasping, eyes wide with a terror I had never seen in him. He looked at me, then looked above me, his face pale as ash. "What are you?" he wheezed, scrambling backward, his heels slipping on the tile. I stood up without stumbling. My ribs didn't hurt. The bruising on my neck was searing hot, but I felt a strength that wasn't mine coursing through my veins. It was electric and terrifying at the same time, but warm. Click, click, clack, thud. The sounds came from the back door, the very one Silas had triple locked and bolted. It was an impossibility, a genuine miracle unfolding before my eyes. Yet my mind couldn't grasp the wonder of it. Consumed by fear and a frantic need to flee, I saw the opening not as divine intervention, but simply as a way out. The deadbolt slid back on its own. The door swung open into the rainy night. I had no time to pack a bag or look for my keys. I just ran. But even as I ran to the garage, the supernatural favor continued. My car, an old sedan Silas usually disabled to keep me trapped, was idling. The engine was running with the key in the ignition. The headlights cut through the pouring rain. I jumped in, threw it into reverse, and tore out of the driveway. As I hit the main road, headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. Silas's truck. The monster had recovered. He was coming, and his truck was faster, heavier, and deadlier than my sedan, as he was gaining on me. I watched the grill of his truck get larger, filling the mirror. He was going to ram me off the road. We were approaching Dead Man's Curve, a sharp switchback on the cliffside with no guardrail. "God, please," I whispered, gripping the wheel. "You didn't get me out of the kitchen just to let me die on the road." Silas revved his engine, surging forward to clip my bumper. Suddenly, a blinding white light, brighter than high beams, brighter than lightning, descended between my car and his truck. It wasn't a flare. It was a wall of luminescence. I looked in the mirror one last time. Through the light, I saw Silas slam on his brakes, blinded. His truck fishtailed, spinning 180 degrees away from me, screeching to a halt inches from the cliff edge. The light faded, leaving only the dark road ahead of me. I drove for 6 hours straight. I didn't stop until I crossed the state line. When I finally pulled into a lit diner parking lot, the sun was rising. I turned off the engine and looked at myself in the rear view mirror. The bruises on my neck were shaped like fingers, a reminder of the death I had escaped. But as I looked closer, I noticed something else. On the passenger seat, untouched and perfectly dry, lay the letter to my sister that Silas had found. The letter that had started the rage. I had left it on the kitchen counter when he attacked me. There was no way I could have grabbed it. I picked it up. On the back of the envelope, written in a script that matched no handwriting I knew, were 3 words in charcoal. "You are free." I wept. Not out of fear, but out of gratitude. I realized then that the escape wasn't just about leaving a house. It was about the night God stepped into a suburban kitchen and decided that my story wasn't over. Silas had the money, the power, and the strength. But I had the one who unlocks doors that no man can shut. And for the first time in years, as I watched the sunrise paint the sky gold, I finally breathed. The enemy attacks the hardest right before your breakthrough because he senses the shifting of the atmosphere. Just like Pharaoh pursued the Israelites most fiercely when they were standing at the edge of their freedom, the opposition often screams the loudest right before the sea parts. He knew I was leaving, but he forgot the most important truth. While he held the weapon, God held my breath. People may be able to forge the sword, but only the Creator can sustain the spirit. I was never merely a victim in a cage. I was a vessel in the fire, being refined, not consumed. Remember, the enemy has to ask for permission to even test you, just as he did with Job. He can touch your circumstances, but he cannot touch your destiny. And to those who have been through abuse, you didn't just survive an attack. You were preserved for a purpose. Like Joseph, what was meant to destroy you has actually repositioned you. You weren't buried in that darkness. You were planted, and now the season of your rising has begun.